Retro Static Radio brings you The Guiding Light, originally created by Irma Phillips.
Ray? Ray?
Oh, come in, Charlotte.
I was up here around 7:30. You were so engrossed in your work, I didn't have the heart to disturb you. But you've been at it since dinner time, dear. Don't you think you should relax a bit?
Well, is it too late to go to the movies?
Oh, I wasn't too anxious to go anyways.
But it's a beautiful night. How about we go for a walk, dear?
No, I don't think so. You're sure I'm not disturbing you?
No. I was about to close up shop anyways. Something on your mind, Charlotte?
Why do you say that?
It's not often you enter my sanctum sanctorum. When you do, there's something you want to talk about.
Well, I do and I don't. I've been thinking about that extra room we have.
Chuckie's old room, huh?
Yeah, of course it's fixed up as a guest room now, but, we never have any guests, you know?
Would you make it made up for as a sitting room for yourself?
Goodness, no.
Then what are you thinking about, dear?
I was wondering how you felt. That is to say, about, adopting another child. You're surprised, aren't you?
Naturally. I just had no idea that after the experience we had with Chuckie, that you'd ever even consider going through another of those adoption procedures.
I wasn't thinking about a baby.
Oh?
I was thinking about an old child.
What's brought all this up?
Maybe I was thinking about your background, reared in an orphanage, without kith or kin, and what you've made of yourself.
So what are you interested in? A boy or a girl?
A boy. Round, 12 or 14. A boy who knows his parents are dead and knows he hasn't anyone. A boy who would appreciate a home and a father like you.
It's funny. I thought all along that there was another husband in the world that knew their wife quite as well as I knew you. But here you are, surprising me.
Well, Oh, that must be Mrs. Snyder. She promised me a recipe. I won't be but a moment, dear. Oh, why, Maida! Hello, Charlotte.
You seem to sense a subtle change in Meta White, don't you, Charlotte? What it is you can't quite put your finger on. That change, however, will become more obvious in the minutes to follow.
When did Ted and Chuckie leave for this camping trip, Maida?
Only a few days ago. But isn't Chuckie a little too young for that kind of experience? That's been my opinion all along, but Ted insisted that Chuckie wasn't too young. And Chuckie did seem to really want to go.
The boy might really enjoy it.
I suppose so. Why haven't I heard from either of you? When Chuckie and I were here last, Charlotte, you promised to call. Well, I don't know. With one thing and another, didn't you want Charlotte to be in touch with me, Ray?
Whatever gave you that idea?
It's possible, isn't it, that you felt I quite don't know how to say it. Maybe you felt that it wasn't good for Charlotte to see Chuckie or me. Oh, believe me, Maida, that's the last thing that entered Ray's mind, and I'm sure you know that's not how I feel about you or Chuckie.
Why don't we tell Maida the truth?
Ray, I don't think that. What do you mean?
She may as well know, Charlotte. Ted stopped by several weeks ago.
Yes, it was shortly after you and Chuckie had dinner with us. Oh, I think I understand. He was very angry with me having brought Chuckie over here. Said that it was unfair to the two of you and the boy.
That's just about what he said to us as well. And in a way, Maida, what he said made some sense. I know he wasn't really considering either Charlotte or me.
Of that you can be sure.
But he made quite a point about Chuckie.
He told you that at one time. Chuckie had been attached, emotionally attached to both of you. That's exactly what he did say, Maida.
He asked us not to see Chuckie anymore.
And you agreed not to?
No, but he laid it pretty much on the line. he inferred that he could, legally, restrain you from bringing the boy here, which of course he could.
In what way?
Well, to be very honest with you, Meta, none of us can really say how much the boy remembers his association with Charlotte and me. We can't be sure he's forgotten two people he once called mother and father.
How do you feel about it? I mean, in your own mind.
I don't know. Incidents in a child's life can be buried very, very deep, even as so young a child as Chuckie was when he gave him back to you. It's obvious Ted is afraid that if the youngster sees a great deal of the two of us, something may reawaken in the child's mind. Might come to be fond of us. Who knows? Maybe even more fond of us than his own father. I think that's what really concerns Ted.
He went so far, Meta, as to warn us not to see Chuckie. Did he say anything about me?
He couldn't. After all, as he said, it wasn't his place to see who you could or couldn't see, but he was adamant about Chuckie.
You see, that's why I haven't called you. I see.
Is there something bothering you, Meta?
Bothering me?
You don't seem yourself tonight.
Yes, I didn't want to say anything, but when I opened the door and saw you, there seemed to be, I don't know, you just changed a little.
I don't think that's quite the word, Charlotte, but you seem tense, Meta. You're not yourself.
I didn't realize it was that apparent. It sounds very stupid, I know, but I'm afraid of something, and I don't know what it is. I just don't know.
You're naturally worried about Chuckie with him being away.
Yes, I am worried about him, and I sincerely hope it is just that he's away from me, but isn't that natural, dear? It's the first time your child has been away from you since you reunited. Any mother would feel the same way. No, I don't think so, Charlotte, because I'm not sure it's the fact that he's away. Then what could it be? I don't know. I know that the last couple of days I've been afraid to be alone, and not for myself. There's this strange thing about, I keep waiting for something. I don't know what. Something that might happen, not to me, but to Chuckie.
When are they coming home?
Ted called this morning. He planned to be gone 10 days or 2 weeks, but for some reason he expects to be back sooner. He didn't go into why, though. I imagine towards the end of the week. Oh, so you have heard from them? Yes. I talked to Chuckie, too.
Then it sounds like an old-fashioned case of the jitters, Meta.
I hope so. I hope it turns out to be just what you said, Ray. Just the jitter. Aw, Meta, when you see that young man of yours walk back into the house, you'll find out that you've been worried about him. More than that, you've just been lonesome for him. I guess you're right. I suppose I should be going.
Have you gotten anyone staying with you at the big old house of yours?
No. I let the housekeeper have a few days off while Ted and Chuckie are gone. Meta, would you like to stay the night tonight? I wouldn't want to impose. Thank you, Charlotte, but...
We were just talking about the guest room before you arrived, Meta, about how it's never even been used. We'd like very much for you to stay, if you care to.
You know, if you hadn't asked me, I would have asked you. Thank you very much.
Why didn't you tell them of your nightmare, Meta? Why didn't you tell them that you fear for the very life of your child? Have you forgotten your dream? You will never be able to forget your fear. It'll stay with you for months to come.
Bill, how many cards do you have?
Ah, none of your business.
Oh,
Oh,
stop
come
being
on.
a
Stop being such a spoil
Bill.
sport. Tell
I just
us.
can't stand that discard pile is getting so big. And Bill Bauer, if you freeze it again.
All right. No talking across the table.
Don't you just love this game, Trudy?
It's all right, I guess.
So who's winning?
No one yet, Papa. All depends on who gets the pot.
Yeah, but it looks like the two sisters have the edge on Bert and me, Pop.
What kind of game is this anyways? You put down, you pick up, you put down, you pick up. An hour and a half, you all still playing the same game.
Well, we're all such good players, Papa Bauer, that no one has given anyone anything.
All right, genius. Make up your mind, Bert. Put down a card.
Oh, I'm afraid to.
Come on, Bert.
I'm afraid Meta has a pear in her hand.
Maybe you'll excuse me. Tired I am getting.
Oh, Papa, of course it's late. You go to bed.
It was nice having you for supper and having you for the evening, like the old times. Good night, my daughters. Good night, Bill.
It was wonderful, Papa. Sweet dreams.
Good night, Papa.
Good night, Pop.
Sleep well, Papa.
Okay, now Bert, while we're young.
Okay, fine. Here goes.
Well, thank you, Bertha Bauer.
Oh no, see? Just my luck.
The best part is I've had those in my hand this entire game just waiting on you, Bert.
Canasta, I guess. Oh, there's no use counting, Meta. With that stack, we already know you and Trudy have won. It was a good game up until now.
What time is it?
Oh, about 10:30, I guess. Why? Need me to take you home?
Is that late?
That's not late at all.
Come now, Meta. You're still not afraid because you thought you heard a prowler the other night, are you?
Yes, I'm a little afraid. Trudy, would you mind if I shared your room tonight? Ted'll be back tomorrow. I'm almost sure he will.
Trudy will be happy to have you, Meta.
If you want to stay, sure. I'm getting ready for bed now, so if you'll excuse me. Good night, everybody.
Good
night, Trudy.
I'll be along shortly. I'm not so sure that Trudy cares to have me stay.
Well, if you want me to go home with you.
Oh, that's ridiculous. Of course Trudy wants you to stay. Don't give it another thought, Meta.
I suppose you're right.
You never would have stayed in Selby Flats tonight if you weren't afraid of going home. Afraid to be alone, would you, Maida? Fear does strange things to us, but you really should have gone home, Maida, and not given in to the fear. It's a little-known fact that the reason daytime dramas are called soap operas are because of the early days of radio. They were sponsored and endorsed by soap and detergent companies. Who are we to break tradition? Today's episode of Retro Static Radio is sponsored by Wood Dragon's Garden. For organic, hyperallergenic, detergent-free, mostly vegan, and frankly just beautiful soaps, please follow the link in the description or go to wooddragonsgarden.com. These soaps come in the traditional square, or you can get them in some special shapes like dragon eggs and skulls. My personal favorite is the lavender bud scent. That's wooddragonsgarden.com with an S after dragon. They also have a Facebook page, so please check them out and get some of the best soap ever, bar none.
I really hope you don't mind my staying the night with you, Trudy.
Why should I, Maida? There's an extra bed in the room, isn't there?
I wasn't talking about an extra bed, Trudy, and you know it. Look, Trudy, I think I know how you feel about it. You would rather I never come back to the house and see the folks because you don't want to see me. I was going to ask you to come stay with me. Thought it'd be a change, but I didn't think you'd want to.
Maida, you and Ted have been married for some time now, you know? I wonder if you've ever stopped to think that not once have you ever given me and Papa a direct invitation to come visit you and Ted.
I've asked you time and again for you to come over.
That's not an invitation, Maida. Come over sometime, give me a ring. Maida, I don't care so much for myself, but there is Papa.
I didn't think he would enjoy himself.
Why not let him decide for himself?
Trudy, you don't understand. I realize I'm not as smart as you are, but I'm not stupid either. You just won't get it through your head, will you? My home is not a very happy one. Do you understand?
Whose fault is it, Maida? Have you ever asked yourself that?
I suppose it's no one's fault, really. The setup is all wrong. Has been since the very beginning. And anything wrong from the beginning, Trudy, never turns out right.
Is that remark meant for me?
I don't know what you meant.
I think you do.
Trudy, when Mama was living, I know you tried to be friendly, but even then you didn't succeed too well.
I have made an effort to break down your antagonism towards me, but I just don't seem to ever be able to get anywhere.
That argument we had several weeks ago...
Maida, I don't want to get into that now.
Neither do I, but, Trudy, only... There's something we have got to get straightened out between us.
Is that why you've decided to stay tonight?
No. No, it isn't.
Do you want me to believe now that you're staying because of the other evening when you phoned Bill, told him that you were afraid to be alone because you thought you heard a prowler?
Trudy, whether you believe it or not, I'm not home because I am afraid to be.
That doesn't sound like you, Meta. I've never known you to be afraid of anything. I honestly think you just use that as an excuse. This is a good opportunity to get me alone. Well, Meta, I don't want to have an argument with you. I don't feel any different now than I did weeks ago.
Well, I've changed my mind since then.
That's fine, but please don't go into detail. I don't care to...
Trudy, what I have to say is for your own good. It hasn't anything to do with me, really, even though you may think it does. Look, you've accused me of a great many things. Some of them may be true, but others aren't. You are not a youngster anymore. You're a mature woman. You're not stupid about most things. Maybe you're not really being stupid about this particular thing, but I need to talk to you about it. Maybe you're just permitting yourself to be blind to reason.
Really?
You've made up your mind that the only reason Ross Boling hasn't asked you to marry him is because of me.
Meta, I don't want to talk about Ross. I don't want to talk, and I don't want to listen.
Whether you want to listen is up to you, but I have to say what I should have said a long time ago. All right. I'm fond of Ross, and in his own way, Ross is fond of me. But he's never been in love with you, Trudy. He never will be. Darling, get that through your head once and for all. Forget about him. Listen, Trudy, there are other men. Attractive men who you could be interested in and who could be interested in you. Give yourself a chance. Don't cling to something that doesn't really exist. Surely you've had to have thought at odd moments that if Ross truly loved you, you and he would be married by now, not just friends. Don't you realize how ridiculous you were when you told me that you were in love with Ross and once and for all I should leave you something? Just something. Oh, Trudy, put down that brush. You're hearing what I say. You're listening.
You're doing the talking, aren't you?
What you refuse to get through your head is that there's one thing that means more to me than anything else in the world.
Your son. Is that what you want me to believe, Meta?
Well, that's the truth. I promised myself, and you might as well know this. I promised Bill. I tried to make my marriage to Ted work, that I'd give it every chance. I promised him I wouldn't do anything rash, impulsive.
That's very interesting, Meta, but your promises don't mean a thing to me. I've told you before and I'm telling you again, you're still in love with Ross and he knows it, and in the back of your mind there's a plan.
A plan?
Yes, you'll find a way, if you haven't found a way already, to marry Ross.
Trudy, if Ross meant that much to me, I'd forget I'd had a son. Ted would like nothing better. He'd give me a divorce if he could keep Chuckie. He wants me out of his life.
And if you've kept out of Ross's, then maybe I'd have a chance.
That's where you're wrong. That's what I've been trying to tell you, Trudy. Stop daydreaming and wake up to reality. I've told you, and I'm going to repeat it. I'm going to try and work out my marriage.
Yes, Meta, until such a time you can have your cake and eat it too. Good night, Meta.
There is nothing more fragile than love, perhaps except the bonds of family. You don't know how Ross feels towards Trudy, and he already ran from you, Meta White, when you tried to pull your cake out of the oven. Sleep tight, even if your fear won't end with the lights going out.
Come in, Bill.
Meta, where in the world have you been all afternoon? I tried phoning you half an hour ago.
Oh, well, I just got home myself. I hope you weren't worried about me.
No, I wasn't worried, but...
But what?
Oh, nothing.
Did you phone Bertha?
Sure, I phoned Bert. Thought you planned on staying at Pop's, but Bert told me you left shortly after I did this morning.
Yes, that's right. I did some shopping, had a bite of lunch, took in a movie, and here I am.
Has your housekeeper returned?
No, I don't expect her back until sometime this evening.
Oh, that's good. Ted and Chuckie will be home this evening, too.
Ted and Chuckie? You
Now,
mean...
hold on. Ted tried reaching you here first. When he didn't get an answer, he called me at the office to make sure you got the message. There, now. Do you feel better?
I won't feel better till I see Chuckie. until I can feel him.
Oh, Meta.
I know you're fed up with me.
No, I'm completely out of patience with that imagination of yours. Honey, you could have knocked me over last night when you asked Trudy if she'd mind if you stayed overnight.
Well, I shouldn't have stayed, but I didn't want to come back here alone, and I couldn't have imposed you staying another night here with me. Bill, I didn't say anything to the folks, but the night before last, I stayed at the Brandons.
What?
Yes.
Meta, I'm starting to worry. You need to get yourself under control.
I'll be all right as soon as Chuckie gets home. I'm sure I'll be all right. You know, it's strange. When I got out of the movie, I debated with myself about whether I should have dinner out or come home.
Uh-huh.
Before I knew it, I was in the cab heading back here. I must have had some sort of feeling that Ted and Chuckie would be back tonight.
There you go again, Meta. Who do you think you are? Some sort of crystal gazer who can tell the future? Sister, no one can do that.
Bill, I know that. But I do believe there's something called intuition. Woman's intuition, or should I say, mother's intuition.
Well, it worked out this time, didn't it? But I just hope you realize you're just imagining things.
Have it your way, Bill.
Meta, did you and Trudy have another argument last night?
It wasn't an argument. Trudy had very little to say. I, however, had a great deal to tell her. I only hope that even half of what I said made an impression.
What did you say to her?
Trudy is under the impression that I am the reason she and Ross Boling aren't married yet. I tried to tell her that.
Is anyone home?
Oh, Chuckie? Chuckie? Chuckie, darling! Oh, darling! Chuckie. Oh, Chuckie, you're home.
Oh, of course we're home. Oh, hello, Bill. This is a surprise.
Chuckie, please say something. Please.
Good heavens, Meta. You're frightening the boy.
Hello, Mother.
Darling. Oh, darling, I'm so glad you're home.
You're hurting me.
I'm sorry, Chuckie.
Have a nice trip, Ted?
Very. We did enjoy ourselves, didn't we, young man?
Yes, Dad.
Come along, dear. Let's wash up and then Mother will prepare something to eat. Something extra special. I'm so happy that you're home.
Camping was fun. I had a good time.
I'm glad to hear that. Bill, you'll excuse us, won't you?
Of course, Meta. You'll have to be running along shortly anyhow.
Well, sit down for a minute, Bill.
Come along, darling, and tell me all that happened.
We did lots of things. Dad even taught me how to cook on a fire.
What, made you come back so soon, Ted?
Well, children reach a saturation point, you know. I felt Chuckie had about all he could enjoy for one trip. It was best we returned while he was still enjoying himself.
I see.
So, how are things at the office?
Oh, 100%.
Good.
I suppose you're wondering why I'm here at this time of day.
The thought had crossed my mind, yes.
Well, I tried to reach Meta all afternoon after you phoned.
It wasn't that important of a message you needed to come out.
Oh, I realized that, at least from your viewpoint. But I was a little worried about her.
Worried? Whatever for?
This is going to sound as stupid as the dickens, and it doesn't even make all that much sense to me, but nevertheless it's true. I won't want you to say anything to Meta.
Go on.
By the time you and Chuckie left for your trip, Meta hasn't been herself, Ted.
Well, she certain wasn't herself a few moments ago. Seldom, if ever, have I seen her display such emotion. Chuckie looked actually embarrassed, and so was I.
Ted, she's a mother. This is the first time that Chuckie was away from her. She was worried about him.
Worried about him? Heaven's sakes, that's a bit stupid, isn't it, old chap? Didn't she realize I'm perfectly capable of taking care of my own son?
The fact remains that she has the jitters. I've never known my sister to be on the verge of hysteria, of such unreasonable hysteria. A few nights ago, she phoned the house. If ever I had heard fear in anyone's voice, I heard it in hers. I don't have to tell you, Ted, that she's never been the sort of person to be afraid of anything.
No, you don't have to tell me.
Anyway, I hopped in the cab and came over here.
You what?
She asked me to. She had some sort of nightmare about Chuckie.
What you're saying is almost unbelievable.
That's what I kept telling myself. But I have eyes and I have ears. It took me a while to calm her down, to try and explain her dream to her. I was grasping at straws, Ted. It ended up with me staying here for the night. Last night, she stayed in Shelby Flats.
At your home.
She asked Trudy if she could share a room with her. Now, does that sound like Meta to you?
I must confess it does not. There's this about your sister, though. There's no accounting for a great many of her actions. I'm never quite sure in my own mind if they're planned or impulsive.
What do you mean?
You haven't forgotten that you asked me not to take the camping trip with Chuckie, right?
No, I haven't forgotten.
You also made mention of the fact that Meta might be planning to leave me.
What does that have to do with the absolute torture she's been through while you and Chuckie were gone?
Perhaps everything. Perhaps nothing. I'm not prepared to say at this time.
Do you mean she's putting on an act?
I don't know. But you and I both agree that her actions are entirely out of what we know about Meta. I won't begin to try and explain the workings of her mind.
Alright. Before you jump to any conclusions, Ted, there's something you should know. The morning after I spent the night here, Meta and I had a long talk. About you, about her, about Chuckie.
Yes?
She promised me, and she promised herself, that she wouldn't do anything impulsive. I think she's going to try to work out this marriage of yours.
Is that what she told you?
That's what she promised me. I tried to point out that for her sake, as well as yours and Chuckie's, it was the only thing for her to do.
I think, perhaps, she realized that it's the only thing she can do under the circumstances.
What do you mean by that?
Maida could leave me, if she wanted to. But I think she knows that she has no grounds for a divorce, and she realizes that she can't take the boy away from me. On the other hand, I'm also aware of the fact that if she definitely made up her mind to do something impulsive, as you say, nothing and no one could stop her.
Except Chuckie.
Possibly.
Yeah. Well, take what I've told you for what it's worth. I mean, Meta's plan as she's expressed it to me. But, Ted, there is one thing I need you to believe, and it has nothing to do with logic or reasoning. Meta put in a terrible time while Chuckie was away. She was like a person tortured. Like any minute she was going to have some word that something was happened to Chuckie.
That's difficult to believe.
Yeah. Well, take what I've told you for what it's worth. I mean, Meta's plan as she's expressed it to me. But, Ted, there is one thing I need you to believe, and it has nothing to do with logic or reasoning. Meta put in a terrible time while Chuckie was away. She was like a person tortured. Like any minute she was going to have some word that something was happened to Chuckie.
That's difficult to believe.
I haven't said anything before, but I'm going to say it now. Try and be a little gentler, her. Will you? Just a little more understanding. I think if you give her half a chance, everything will work out.
Half a chance? Believe me, Bill. I'll give her every chance. The trials and tales of a family never truly end, but this is the end of Guiding Light. Next week we return to the comedy stylings of Duffy's Tavern, with Archie Writes a Lecture. If you enjoy the broadcast of Retrostatic Radio, please become a patron at patreon.com, which has tiers including upcoming table reads, live hangouts on Discord when applicable, and even voting to see which shows continue on in Season 2. If you want to become a sponsor or a producer for the station, email us at retrostaticradio@gmail.com to discuss our special offers and rates. Sharing is caring, so please follow, share, and subscribe. We're on every major social media outlet like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This concludes our broadcast day.